Welcome back to this island cursed by dark magic. Today we will be building the home of the High Mage and designing a few puzzles and challenges that our adventurer needs to solve in order to restore the island. I'm Jade the Willow, and first I had to figure out what I wanted from my mage's tower. How many floors, what the challenges were going to be, and how I was going to make it feel a little bit different from the rest of the buildings on the island. But rather than coming up with a plan, I just started placing blocks and getting the base sized out. I do already have a pattern and build style to follow, so I used that to inform my process. But I did come up with a plan during this part. We're going to have 3 unique layers, or floors, I suppose, with puzzles, not including the top, which will be where you need to go in order to do the final part that'll allow you to restore the tower to the good version. If you've seen the other videos in this series, you know we have 2 versions of each building. The restored version with a warm color palette and a dark magic version with more of a grayscale. And I did not feel like building in gray, so we started with the warm palette, even though we are surrounded by the gray. But the details will be sorted out later. You can see that I used a lot of the same elements from the other buildings, but it's a little bit more whimsical and unique. For starters, we use rounder shapes in the base of the tower, and I think what really makes it feel different is the dark oak details on the middle 2 layers. The set of 3 windows looks to me like a pair of goggles, even though people have 2 eyes, but that's just what it reminds me of. And then the layered slabs isn't something I've used elsewhere, so it makes things unique while still pulling from the same idea of having the dark oak slabs as a sort of shadow element underneath. The tower exterior is completed. Alright, now we have to add in all of the challenges. My idea is that as you move through the tower, you're following in the footsteps of the 3 guys who the High Mage locked up as they try to escape, which we learned a little bit about in the previous video. Guys, I just had an amazing idea. In order to give you some incentive to go through the tower, I'm going to design it so that you can get in, but you can't get out. There will be a button on the outside that opens a sticky piston door, but once you go through, there won't be a button on the other side. And I think it's brilliant. So you're walking towards the strange tower and you arrive at the door and decide to enter. And you'll enter into this not yet decorated room. And when you think about leaving, you'll discover there's no way out. You'll have to go through all 3 layers of the tower before you can find a button to open the door. The lowest layer is going to be storage and the dungeon. It'll just be a little baby dungeon because it's not official, and if the king of the island found out, the mage would be in trouble. So we're going to be breaking the room up into parts, so it's a little bit more interesting. First, we have to add the dungeons, which will be just for viewing pleasure, as strange as that is. Then we'll have the entryway. And I don't want it to feel particularly welcoming. The player should feel as if they stumbled into the servants' entrance, and maybe that from this point they can sneak around. So I'll add in a few chests that have things that will come in handy later, and it'll just be kind of a messy space. The first challenge is going to be a fairly easy parkour. I don't particularly love Minecraft parkour, so I don't want to make it too difficult. You'll just have to hop and bop to the top of the spare staircase, where you'll come to the potion room. My original idea was to have you create a potion, and then there were just multiple complications with that plan, some of it being my own technical Minecraft abilities at this point in time. We also need to do another step before I can work on the puzzle. The second floor is going to be connected to a little walled garden, and I want to have that built before I continue with the challenge. This is an inner city wall, so in order to create the walled off garden, we have to start with the wall. This is going to be an inner city wall that separates the city from the castle complex, and it's going to run from the outside wall all the way through to the mountain. It's a simplified version of the city wall, again just repeating the same designs, but it looks especially awkward now because it's not really meant to stand on its own, and it's missing what belongs on each side of it, but that's a different video. That's the city wall, and now we build the little garden area. It will only extend to about this green line. I want to decorate the tower with more clutter than I have elsewhere on the island. At this point in the journey, I don't mind so much if the explorer gets extra things, and I'd rather have curiosities to look at in the different rooms. This will also help set the tower apart from other places. And if the High Mage is at the center of the deterioration of the island, it would make sense that he might try to keep his place as untouched as possible, thereby allowing some more color in his tower. So as I mentioned, this puzzle has been through a few different variations, but I finally landed on a version that's going to work. It's just a little silly, but we're going to use the same type of puzzle and command block format as we did for the farm. So the instructions will be here in this item frame that you can grab. Oh, you can't do that on creative. Hold on, I have the replacement. So it will read, I know they say not to eat in the laboratory, but I really want cake. And if I put this on the pedestal, then it'll be away from the potions. I spelled 2 words wrong. That's quite a mess. Okay, I'll fix it. But moving on for now, when you put the cake on the pedestal, it will open the door over there. So there will be a command block that will place a redstone torch below the door when the cake is in this specific spot. And then you'll be out on the balcony where you can go up the stairs. Wait, you say there's no stairs? Hold on. There we go. Now you can go up these very sketchy stairs, and I want them to be narrow and not really safe, and they'll lead you up to the library. Oh my goodness. I don't think I really looked at it very well from far away. These are some funky additions to the tower. All right, maybe some fence supports? So there's going to be a lectern in the potion room that will have a journal page written by the High Mage, which will read, The king has been asking me every day what I can do to stop this drought. I keep telling him that you can't make something out of nothing. All magical energy has to be pulled from something. Mostly it's pulled from your personal energy, but there are enough spells with other energy transfers. The answer seems so obvious now. Of course I can't produce enough water to save the city, but perhaps the land can. If I can find a spell to pull the living energy from one plant and put it into another, then I can save everyone. I'll have to start small to test things out. It's also possible I'll have to rely on my apprentices to assist me, depending on how large scale and demanding the magic ends up being. Now we need to finish decorating this outside area and hide the last few ingredients for the cake. I really want the player to have to milk a cow to get the milk rather than finding buckets of milk. However, I don't want to leave a cow in here because then he'd be all abandoned, or she would be all abandoned in the little space, and that's sad. So do we say, it's Minecraft, the cow is fine, or do we think about it in terms of the story? And as you can see, I did decide to add a cow because I like that the player needs to engage with another Minecraft mechanic. And this will lead us up into the library, which is partly set up already. Okay, so I've gotten a little carried away and wrapped up in the redstone, so we're just going to backtrack a little bit. I'm going to be creating a lock on an iron door that can only be opened if the correct amount of books are in 2 specific chiseled bookshelves. I'm just trying to work out the redstone by myself because I've done an item frame lock before and I'm using the same layout. Oh my goodness, I did it. Just barely. I had to keep going back and looking at my example I did outside the tower just so I could get an idea of how much space I might need to figure out why it wasn't working correctly. And I had forgotten one block. One little thing held me up for so long. But anyway, when you enter the library, you'll notice this closed iron door here and a few chiseled bookshelves around. You'll be able to grab books from any of the shelves. There will also be some enchanted books sprinkled throughout. You can go up this ladder and see an enchanting table that you can't access yet. You might notice that all chiseled bookshelves with books have them in one of 2 variations, 5 books and 3 books, all in order. This is a clue to the solution to the iron door. You'll also see on this wall here 2 symmetrically placed empty bookshelves, with 2 chiseled bookshelves above them. These show the pattern that you must input. So let's grab some books, and then we put them in, and the iron door should open. There we go. All right, so now you can go through the door to the next layer. You'll also have access to the enchanting table now and another journal entry. And I'll also put some lapis in the chest so you can enchant if you will. I should also put some bottles of enchanting around. I'll put those in the potion room. That's very smart. Okay, anyway. The journal will read, Things are becoming more complicated. The magic is taking a greater toll than expected. I don't think I'll be able to successfully save the island. The villagers have noticed that the restored land comes with a price, and instead of thanking me for my sacrifices, they have come at me with anger and accusations. Some have even begun to leave the island. Once you make it to the top of the ladder, you will find on this pedestal, hold on a moment, there you go, a button. So this button will trigger a command block to paste in the restored tower. And then this chest over here will have a button that you can bring down to the lower layer to get out and finally be free after your strange journey. There will be one last journal page at the top next to the button in the chest that will communicate to the player that they are supposed to use this to get out of the tower. However, I want it to look like the High Mage has kind of lost his mind and descended into a crazy dark magic rabbit hole. So it's going to look like this. It's just kind of nonsensical, but you can still tell what the button's for. And now that everything is together, let's pull the color out of it. And this is what you'll see from afar. It fills out the story a little bit more, and it shows us what's happening from the villain's point of view, and we learn a little bit more about where he's coming from. I've got some fun puzzle ideas for the next couple areas I want to build, and we'll see where things go. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!